From the halls of Valhalla, watched by Odin, subscribed to by Thor. My name is Jeff Cran, and this is Valhalla Sports Talk. Good evening and welcome to Valhalla Sports Talk. Tonight, we have a live stream for you. We're going to do something amazing. Everywhere you look across the country now, on the internet, people are doing mock drafts for the upcoming NFL draft. Well, here at Valhalla Sports Talk, we had a different idea how this thing could be done. Kind of different from everybody else's. So, to get started here, I'm just going to give you a little story about how this draft would come about. Okay? The draft is going to be held in Las Vegas on April 23rd. So, in our little story here, the Mad Viking, my alter ego, he is walking down the street at 3 o'clock in the morning, the night of the draft. He's walking down. He just came from choir practice, likely, and probably a church service or something. And he's walking, and the streets are empty, eerily empty. To his left, there's a vehicle that comes by, and he notices a stretch limousine. The limousine goes past him at a high rate of speed and crashes into the fountains at Caesar's Palace. Curious and also worried about the occupants of the vehicle, the Mad Viking quickly runs to the vehicle that is now smoking in a smoldering heap in the Caesar Palace fountains. As he arrives on the scene, the door is open, and he looks inside and he sees Rodger Goodell, the NFL commissioner. And the commissioner has some friends with him, apparently. Most of them look like they are ladies of the evening and probably shouldn't be hanging out with the married Rodger Goodell. So the Mad Viking, being kind of a smart fella sometimes, decides to click on his cell phone and starts recording what he's seeing. As he approaches the vehicle, he notices that Mr. Goodell and his friends have been partying a little bit. He notices that the smell coming from the wreckage pretty much smells like Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson ran into a truck full of Viva La Juicy. So the Mad Viking, thinking to himself, man, that draft tomorrow, I'm not liking where the Vikings are sitting in the 20s with their pick. Maybe this is an opportunity for me to take over this NFL draft. So after a short discussion with Mr. Goodell, who doesn't want to lose that multi-million-dollar salary that he gets every year, he negotiates with the Mad Viking to take over the first day of the NFL draft. The Mad Viking says, okay, I'll take care of that. And he thinks for a moment, and he says to himself, got a perfect idea to increase the odds of the Vikings getting a better pick in this draft. So he comes up with this idea to do a lottery wheel for the picks instead of letting teams pick based on needs. So that's the scenario we're dealing with today, and we're going to make that happen here in just a moment. I noticed that we've got some folks in chat already. So we got Mind of Milton, welcome, thank you for joining us, and Gil Soto has joined us already. So with that being said, we're going to get right at this thing and get going with our mock draft / lottery, okay? So on the first pick in this draft this evening will be the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals went 2-14 last year. They've got an offensive efficiency ranking of 30, defensive efficiency rating of 25, special teams efficiency ranking of 16th, and an overall ranking of 31st in the NFL. So the Cincinnati Bengals were very bad. All the reports that are out there right now have the Bengals drafting Joe Burrow, the quarterback from LSU. That's who I happen to want for the Vikings, who aren't going to get to pick until the 20s. But in my scenario here, we've got a chance at him because it just has to go our way. The wheel just has to turn and come to our favor. So let's look at team needs for the Bengals. All righty. The Bengals, their primary need in this draft is quarterback. They could use an edge rusher, a wide receiver wouldn't be too bad, and a linebacker wouldn't be too bad. But the things that they do not need are a safety and running back. Well, that's just not how this deal's going to work tonight. They're going to get what they get. So let's bring up the lottery wheel for the first time this evening. All righty. And we're going to go in there and we're going to get everything ready so we can make this first pick for the Cincinnati Bengals. Alrighty, so here we're ready to go. The first spin of the wheel in the 2020 NFL Draft Lottery. Okay, so here's who Cincinnati is going to get. Boom! Isaiah Simmons, linebacker out of Clemson. While they're probably upset that they didn't get Joe Burrow, they're probably pretty excited that they did get Simmons, who happens to be in need of theirs at linebacker. So let's get everything loaded here. We're going to update our ticker and get some video highlights going of the player here, and we'll go from there. Stand by. So I got a little bit I got to do here in the Valhalla control room to make all these things happen at once, but we'll get through it. Now, kind of my goal for the next few days here is to do kind of a draft recap and tell you what kind of how this wheel would have affected the teams if they were thrown into this wildness where they have to just take who they get, right? So that should be fun as well. Let's add Mr. Simmons to the clicker there. He went to Clemson. We'll get his video going. How's everybody doing out there tonight? Let us know what you're thinking. If you've got a team that you're a fan of, let us know how you would have reacted if this scenario went down where you didn't get to pick your guy. He just came to your team and you had to decide what to do with him. Now, what I think this would have an effect on the draft is I think that after day one, after this lottery occurred, teams would be sitting there with guys that A, they didn't need, or that they liked better than guys that they currently had on their roster. So day 2 and day 3 of the draft would then become something really special, I think, kind of exciting. So there's your first look at Mr. Simmons, who now is a member of the Cincinnati Bengals. Any comments or remarks here, please join us in the chat. And next up on the clock, we've got the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins sitting at number 2, the next team to go up on the wheel. Well, let's take a look at Simmons here and tell you some of the information about what folks think about him as an NFL prospect. Having a little trouble finding him here. Was he a 3-4 linebacker or? I think we lost our chat too. I'll just keep going like we're okay here. So Isaiah Simmons, 6'3", weight 230, projected 40 time 4.50, linebacker. He's an outside linebacker out of Clemson. So I think the Bengals would be pleased to have him in their organization. So let's move on to the next pick here. Washington Redskins are on the wheel. And here it goes. So the Washington Redskins are going to get Laviska Shenault, wide receiver, Colorado. Not sure how the Redskins would be feeling at this point, because their goal was to get a defensive player here at number 2. The number 1 rated player in the draft actually was their goal. But that's not what they get, because with the draft wheel, you get what you get. So we'll put Mr. Shenault there in the Valhalla Sports Center video replay thing and see what we get on him. Then we'll add him to the ticker. Laviska Shenault, wide receiver, Colorado. Back to our OBS system here. And bring up the player highlights. So there's your first look at the newest Redskin, Laviska Shenault. See what the reports are on this fella. So Shenault wasn't ranked in the top 3 at wide receiver, but he was ranked number 4. He's 6'2", 220 pounds, wide receiver out of Colorado. He was projected to go in the 1st or 2nd round. Last year he had 52 receptions for 721 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was dealing with some inconsistent quarterback play, but he managed to catch the eyes of NFL scouts, and he was highly coveted going into tonight's draft. So the Redskins, like I said, they're probably upset that they didn't get Chase Young, who was projected to go to them, but they still get a good player at 2. I'm worried about the chat here because I cannot see the chat. There we go, we're back. Yeah, Gil, some of these scenarios, the way they're going to play out, it would make for an interesting night after the 1st round. Teams would be scrambling. I mean, there would be a crazy amount of trades on Saturday morning when they were trying to figure out how they were going to fill their team needs now that they got to sign this player because of the Mad Vikings madness, right? So I think it would be fun. I mean, crazy fun, crazy different. And we are in Vegas this year, so it's a roll of the dice on who you get. So that's pretty cool. Alrighty, so let's get on to the next pick here and figure out what we're going to do. Alrighty, so next on the clock, we've got the Detroit Lions, who went 3-12-1 last year. Their offensive efficiency ranking was 19th, 29th on defense, 1st in special teams, probably because they did a lot of punting and kicking, an overall ranking of 25th. For the season. Let's see what kind of needs do the Lions have out there in this draft. The Lions, it says, are really needing a linebacker, a cornerback, and an edge rusher. What they really don't need, supposedly, is a quarterback. Now, today, some news came out that the Lions were reportedly shopping Safford, so that came as a shock to me. So maybe they are looking at quarterback at that pick. I've read a lot that says that this pick for the Lions is one that they would likely get a whole haul for if they were to trade out of that spot. But in this scenario here, where the Mad Viking is taking over Las Vegas and the draft, no trades are allowed in the 1st round. If you've got a 1st round pick, you're getting a spin of the wheel. If you've got 3 1st round picks, you're getting 3 spins of the wheel. That way, every one of the picks is worth the exact same. And that was what I wanted to do so that the Vikings would have the exact same opportunity as everybody else to get a top-tier player instead of picking in the 20s and getting an offensive lineman or something lame. But so that's the scenario that we're under right now. So as we sit here, we're going to check out, we know their team needs, right? So let's go ahead and spin this wheel and see what they get. Clear this off here. Bring back up the lottery wheel. Remove Mr. Chenal from the wheel. And then we're going to spin it. Let's spin that wheel. Here we go. Detroit Lions pick, number 3. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. Boom, the Lions get the 10th rated prospect in the draft, Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama. So they might not have got exactly what they wanted, but they sure did get a heck of a player here. Wide receiver was kind of a secondary need for them, but the wheel has spoken. So they're getting Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. Let's go ahead and plug Mr. Jeudy into the replay machine. So any Lions fans out there, Blitz, if you happen to be out there, let us know. What would your reaction be if the lottery wheel came up and you guys ended up with Jerry Jeudy? And now we got to add him to the ticker as well. And there he goes. It's official. It is official. Bring up his highlights there. Never know when YouTube's going to throw them ads in there, so I'm trying to keep them ads off the screen. So here we are. We're now 3 picks into this deal. And we've had some interesting lands of the wheel already. So we'll move on to the next one if nobody has any comments. Jeudy, I think, is just going to be an amazing, amazing pro. Let's see what Walter Football had to say about Jeudy. Jeudy was the number 1 ranked wide receiver on their board, 6'1", 192 pounds, got a projected 40 time of 4.45, and he was projected to go in the top 20. He was with that Alabama receiving corps where they had just 3 absolute studs playing wide receiver for them, and he still managed 77 receptions, 163 yards, and 10 touchdowns last year. Unbelievable dynamic playmaker. I think any team would be excited to add him to their roster. Alrighty, so let's move on to pick number 4. Turn off the highlight thing, bring back up the wheel. And who is up on the clock here? Pick number 4 is going to be the New York Giants, who were 4-12 last year, had an offensive efficiency ranking of 25th. Defensively, they were ranked 28th, special teams 17th, and an overall ranking of 29th. So a pretty bad football team. Okay, but they do have a deal where one thing they do not want in this draft is a quarterback, because they got Daniel Jones last year. So this could be one of the teams that is greatly affected by the wheel should they end up with one of these quarterbacks, because they're going to have to find a way to turn that player into picks tomorrow before the 2nd and 3rd round begins. Let's find the Giants here and see what they are in search of. It shouldn't be that hard to find them. There they are. Okay, so what the Giants are really looking for is an offensive tackle or an edge rusher. They could use a linebacker, safety, wide receiver, and quarterback. But what they really do not want is a running back and interior defensive line. One of their last needs, it says they could use a quarterback because they don't have anyone backing up Jones. And Jones hasn't done this deal for a long time. He's only been a starter for 1 year. So maybe they're trying to hedge bets there. But their biggest need is offensive tackle and edge. All right. So let's go to the wheel. We're going to remove Mr. Judy from the wheel. And it's time to spin it. Spin that wheel. Spin that wheel. All right, New York Giants, what are they going to get? Boom, they get Patrick Queen, linebacker out of LSU. So that was kind of a secondary need for them. They're probably pretty upset, I would suppose, at this scenario, but at least they got a high-ranked linebacker. He was the 15th ranked player on the board. Go ahead and bring up his highlight reel. Drop it in there. Highlights. Mr. Queen was a linebacker out of LSU. Get his stuff going there, and now we're going to add him to the ticker. Patrick Queen, linebacker, LSU Tigers. Alrighty. Bring up those highlights, and then I'll give you a quick draft profile of him, what others are saying about him. All right, let's go to Walter Football and bring up his ranking. The player computer here in Valhalla Sports Talk's control room, is the fan on it is like it's going to blow up. So hopefully we don't lose it at some point during today. Hopefully you folks can't hear that at home. Alrighty, so currently 2 viewers in the chat. Said it was Patrick Queen, right? Yeah. So here's what Walter Football had to say about Patrick Queen, outside linebacker, LSU. 6'1", weight 227. Projected 40 time was 4.60. Sources thought he would be a late first round or second round pick, depending on how his pretest, the combine, which is going on right now, how those went. Said he's a fast linebacker who can go sideline to sideline and has 3-down starter potential. So solid player. I'm thinking that they're probably a little upset that they got him that early, when there were other folks on the board that they probably would have coveted more, but that's just how it goes. We're in Vegas. Lady Luck is making the selections tonight, thanks to the Mad Viking. Oops, I think I've got something wrong on my ticker there. Let me fix that real quick. How I did that. Simmons, Chenal. They don't give you much room to see here. Go back to that and see if I can fix it. Alrighty, so we're continuing on with Valhalla Sports Talk's NFL lottery, draft lottery, kind of our version of a mock draft. I want to see the ticker as it goes by here to see, I thought I saw a mistake there and I couldn't find it. So how's everybody doing tonight? I probably could have done this offline, but I don't know how to edit video, so we're just doing a live stream for these picks. All right, so 1.1, the Bengals got Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker out of Clemson. 1.2, the Redskins, due to the luck of the wheel, got Laviska Shenault, wide receiver, Colorado. 1.3, the Lions got Jerry Jeudy, the highest ranked wide receiver in the draft. And the Giants were awarded Patrick Queen, linebacker out of LSU. All right, so everything looks okay. I'm not sure what I saw that kind of worried me. But next up on the clock, we've got the Dolphins at 1.5. Let's bring back up the lottery wheel. All right, we'll remove Patrick Queen from the wheel. And we'll look at the Dolphins' needs in this draft. What are they looking for? Now, I think the Dolphins are the team with 3 #1 picks, so they could end up having a good night. Dolphins pretty much need everything. They pretty much tanked, in my opinion. They traded everybody away, and they need a quarterback, an edge rusher, an offensive tackle, inside offensive line, and a running back. About the only thing they do not need, according to this, is an inside defensive lineman. So they're pretty much wide open. So let's see what they get. And away the wheel goes. So here we are. The Dolphins, with their first of 3 first-round picks, get Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU. Dang, I wanted the Vikings to get him. The Dolphins have to be ecstatic that they end up getting him in this scenario. Go ahead and update everything here. Man, if there were some Dolphins fans in here, they'd be pretty happy right now if this was reality. But the young quarterback from LSU ends up going to the Miami Dolphins. All right, let's put up the tape and get him added to the ticker. Joe Burrow, quarterback, LSU, to the Dolphins. Oops, that's the wrong pick. Let me fix that. That happened. I awarded him to them with their late pick. I think that might be. So 2 picks in a row, an LSU player goes off the board. Alrighty, so let's get back to OBS. Get up those player highlights. And you get your first look at Joe Burrow, the newest Miami Dolphin. 3 viewers currently in the chat. Let's go ahead and look at what Walter Footballs had to say about Joe Burrow. Probably the most talked about player in this draft. Came out of nowhere last year for LSU. 6'4", 216 pounds, 4.83 speed, projected to go in the top 5, which is exactly what he did. And you pretty much don't have to tell nobody what happened with Joe Burrow last year. I mean, he set the NCAA football on fire. He was the man. for LSU and ended up taking home that national championship. So the Dolphins would be ecstatic in this scenario. So one of the teams that's not mad at the Mad Viking hunting him down, but they would be pretty happy. So if you've joined us today and you're watching, let us know about what you're thinking. If your team is getting a player that you would like to get. At this point, we're going up for the next pick, and I believe that's going to be the Chargers at 1.6. Alrighty, so let's move on there. Get the draft wheel ready. Let's see what the Chargers need. What are the Chargers looking for in this draft? Alrighty, the Chargers last year, Los Angeles Chargers, were 5-11. Their offensive efficiency ranking was 16th. Their defensive efficiency ranking was 23rd. They had the 21st rated special teams efficiency and overall ranking of 20th. So they weren't really good. A lot of questions in Los Angeles for the Chargers. You've got Phillip Rivers. They've said they're not bringing him back, so they literally do not have a quarterback at this point. So they would have liked Burrow to hit on number 6, but in Vegas, you never know what your number's going to hit on. So let's see what their team needs are, okay? Team needs for the Chargers now are obviously quarterback, inside offensive lineman, offensive tackle, and cornerback. What they don't need is an edge rusher or a safety. But they don't get to choose tonight because this is the Mad Vikings draft, and they're going to get what they get. Because that's what it says up on the screen here. So let's go ahead and move on to them at this point. Bring up the wheel. Remove Mr. Burrow, the #1 overall player who just left the wheel. And we're going to spin this for these Los Angeles Chargers. Round and round it goes. Oh, the Chargers just missed out on Tua. Instead, they get CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma. Who's going to be the guy throwing it to him? We don't know. Let's go ahead and update everything here. Mr. Lamb. Got to get some highlights on you, sir. Drop you into the highlight generator. And we'll add you to the ticker as well. Chargers. So this in the practice scenarios for this deal, a lot of the high players stayed on the board until late. Seems like a lot of the high ones are going early on here, so maybe not too horrible for these teams under this scenario. Alrighty, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma, is officially a Los Angeles Charger. Let's bring up the highlights. Boom, there he is, the latest San Diego Charger, or Los Angeles Charger, excuse me. Still doing it. Still doing it. Alrighty, let's bring up who's next on the wheel. Next up on the wheel, you've got the #7 Carolina Panthers. But first, let's go ahead and see what Walter Football had to say about CeeDee Lamb. Alrighty, CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma. Height, 6'2", weight 189, projected 40 time 4.55, projected to go in the first round. He didn't get as many targets last year at Oklahoma. A little bit different quarterback play there. Not quite a burner, but he's quick enough to be a potential #1 receiver in the NFL. I think he's more than that. Personally, I think this guy is going to be an absolute stud for the Los Angeles Chargers. So I don't think they they would be too upset under this scenario. Was that one of their needs? No, it wasn't one of their needs. It was one of their secondary needs, but it wasn't one of their horrible, like we need him right now guy. But anyway, I think they got a playmaker there, that's for sure. I think he could be the best wide receiver in the draft, but it's who you talk to, I guess, right? Who do you talk to and what do they say about everything? And really quickly, I want to check the stream health here. Okay, it looks like we're operating pretty good here. Carolina was 5-11, offensive efficiency ranking of 28, defensive efficiency ranking of 20th, and special teams were ranked 23rd with an overall ranking of 27. So Carolina was pretty bad, especially after Cam Newton was hurt. Sounds like Carolina's going to keep Newton around after some speculation that he could be leaving, but it looks like they're going to keep him for now and see what happens. Now, under this scenario, it could change completely, obviously, if they were to get a top quarterback that they like better, but we'll see what they get. So their needs are inside defensive lineman, quarterback, cornerback, inside offensive lineman, and linebacker, right? And they don't have anything they don't need, it says. I think that's the only team up here that says that they don't need anything. There's nothing that they don't need. So let's go ahead and clear the wheel, get it ready for its next spin for these Carolina Panthers. And we'll remove Mr. Lamb from the wheel since he has a new home. And here we go for the Carolina Panthers. The wheel going round and round. Where it stops, nobody knows. What do they get? What do they get? Boom, so close to getting Kinlaw there. I mean, to getting a Tua, but instead they get Javon Kinlaw, the number 8th ranked player on the wheel, a defensive tackle out of South Carolina. Defensive tackle, I don't remember that being something. Oh yeah, inside defensive line. So that's exactly what they needed, and they got Kinlaw, so they're probably pretty pleased. Let's go ahead and put Mr. Kinlaw in the highlight generator. Shout out to these creators on YouTube that do these highlight videos too, man. They do some great work. So if you see like their name on the video or whatever, go check them out. Go check them out, subscribe to them, and let them know that you like their content. Javon Kinlaw. Bring up the tape on him and add him to the ticker. Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle, South Carolina. There he is. It's official. It's official at this point. So let's get those highlights playing for the folks at home. Boom, there he is. That advertising off of there. We are live. Now let's find out what Walter Football had to say about Mr. Kinlaw. Defensive tackle, 2020. So Kinlaw wasn't the highest ranked defensive tackle. He was number 2, but it looks like Carolina's getting them a good player here. He's 6'5", weight 315. And then they give you like his arm length, 34.5, hand size 10.13. So this is a big dude. Gil Soda checks in on the chat and says Tua would look good on the Panthers. Yeah, well, they almost got him. The wheel just missed him. They literally just missed him. Alrighty, so that's what what Walter Football had to say about Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina, who ended up going to the last pick there. Let's go ahead and get ready for this next team that's going to be up on the draft wheel. As I watch the ticker go by, make sure we've got everything spelled properly so nobody gets their feelings hurt. Yeah, Kinlaw does look like the real deal. He's a big dude, a monster of a man. Cincinnati Bengals fan. Alrighty, so let's get this thing ready for the next pick here. Find out who is next up. $1.8 is going to be the hometown. That's where I'm from. The Arizona Cardinals are on the wheel at 1.8. Let's check out their team needs. All righty, Arizona Cardinals, their biggest needs are wide receiver, inside defensive lineman, and offensive tackle. We all know they took a quarterback at 1 overall, so a disaster for them on the wheel would be to get another quarterback tonight, right? But that would create madness, and that would create some interesting things tomorrow. But let's go ahead and get this wheel rolling. Spin it for the Arizona Cardinals at 1.8. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. Cardinals get the 30th ranked player on the board, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back out of LSU. So they're probably not ecstatic. They do need a running back, but they're probably not ecstatic at how their 8th pick ended up in the 30th ranked player. That's just how it works when you're dealing with the NFL lottery wheel. Let's go ahead and bring up Mr. Edwards-Helaire here and drop him in the highlight generator. Get that to come up. And then add him to the ticker. I actually watched a lot of Edwards-Helaire playing last year, and I was crazy impressed with him as a running back. I think he is going to be a good one. I think he will be a good one in the NFL. Of course, half of it in this league is opportunity. You got to get a chance to play, right? He is now an official member of the Arizona Cardinals. Let's give Cardinal fans their first look at this young man. No, Gil, they probably wouldn't like it. But, man, I think the fans would be screaming. I think it would be pretty trippy. But, I mean, there are 1,000 mock drafts out there right now on YouTube, Twitter. Crap matters anyway because they've traded up and traded out and all that stuff, or they pick a team. They'd be sending guys that you'd have never thought to teams, other teams in the league. So I think it would be fun. And then I think it's going to be curious practice runs for the stream that a lot of times players that were projected to go to these teams actually hit on the wheel. So it literally is a roll of the dice. All right, so Edward, he was the 4th ranked running back on the board apparently, and tough runner and receiver. So he catches the ball out of the backfield. He did all the dirty work for the Tigers last year, averages 6.6 yards per carry, 1,414 yards and 16 touchdowns for the national champion LSU Tigers. Alrighty, so let's bring back up the wheel for the next pick because we got some commercials rolling there. Let's look at the needs for the next team up on the clock. Next up at 1.9, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Alrighty. So let's see the team needs for Jacksonville. The Jaguars are in need of a linebacker, cornerback, safety, and inside defensive line. They don't have anything that they don't really need at all, so they could use just about anything. But their biggest need is linebacker, it sounds like. So that's what they're hoping this wheel hits for them. What about, how was this team last year, the Jaguars? Jaguars were 6-10 last year. Offensive efficiency came in 26th. Defensive efficiency 26th. Special teams ranking 6th, and overall ranking of 28th. So they were pretty bad. They were pretty bad. So let's go ahead and get this wheel ready to spin for the Jacksonville Jaguars at pick 1.9. Remove Mr. Edwards-Helaire from the wheel. Bam, spin it. Here we go. Jacksonville is on the wheel. Boom, Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Minshew now has some competition, or the Jaguars will look to trade Love to a team that coveted him as we go into the second day of the draft. Let's go ahead and add Mr. Love into the highlight generator. Alrighty, there he goes. Boom, we'll put them up, add them to the ticker. Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bring him up, and then we'll look at what his draft profile looked like. Bring it up here, quarterback. A lot of teams have been intrigued by Love. I know there's been a lot of chatter about that he could be the surprise on the quarterback side of this draft. So a lot are liking him better than that A-Bear out of Oregon. But Jordan Love, quarterback, Utah State, 6'4", 225, 33.13 arm length, hand 10.63. He had the biggest hands, whatever that means, at the draft. Completed 62% of his passes for 3,402 yards with 20 touchdowns, but he had 17 interceptions. That's one of the worries about him. But they're thinking he's going to be a hell of a pro. And now the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to have to try to figure out, is Minshew the guy? Is Love the guy? So they're going to have a long night going into day 2 of the draft. Alrighty, so that's Jordan Love to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who is next up on the clock? Next up on the clock, you've got the Cleveland Browns at 1.10. The record last year was 6-10, a disappointment. Everyone was talking about how they were going to be so much better last year, and they ended up just crapping the bed. Alrighty, their offensive efficiency ranking 22nd, defensive efficiency ranking 22nd, 9th in special teams, and 23rd overall ranking. So they were the bottom third of the league. So they need some help. Hey, Gridiron Blitz, what's going on, man? Welcome to the chat. Big Valhalla shout out to you, sir. All right, so as I was saying, Cleveland Browns on the clock. Let's see what kind of team needs Cleveland has. Blitz, you have to tell me what you think about who your Lions got on the wheel. Okay, Cleveland Browns are in need of an offensive tackle, a safety. They could use some inside offensive lineman help, an offensive tackle, linebacker, and defensive line. What they're saying they don't need is the skill positions, right? So wide receiver, running back, quarterback. But they don't get to choose because with the draft lottery wheel, you get what you get. I mean, it literally says it right here. You get what you get. Let's go ahead and get this wheel ready for the Cleveland Browns. We already went over their needs. We're going to remove Jordan Love from the wheel. And here we go. Cleveland Browns at 1.10, I believe it is. Let me check that. Yep, 1.10 Cleveland Browns on the wheel. Spin it. Round and round it goes. Who do they get? Who do they get? Cleveland Browns get something they didn't really need. Jonathan Taylor, running back out of Wisconsin. What are they going to do? What are they going to do as we go into day 2 of the draft? They're going to ship Taylor out to another team and his rookie contract? Or maybe they start thinking about shipping one of their other running backs out of town. Anyway, let's put Mr. Taylor into the highlight generator. Get that thing rolling. And add him to the ticker. Browns. Jonathan He's a running back out of Wisconsin. Alrighty, looks good. Go back the operating system here and give Cleveland Brown fans their first look at their newest running back. Let's see what Walter Football had to say about Mr. Taylor. Bring up the running backs. Can't believe he dropped that far. Oh, there he is. So Jonathan Taylor was the second rated running back by WalterFootball.com. 5'11", weight 216. They project his 40 time at 4.54. He was projected to go in either the first or second round. He's got a combination of power, quickness, vision, cutting ability, and a tremendous stiff arm. He averaged 6.3 yards a carry in 2019 for 2,003 yards with 21 touchdowns. He also had 25 receptions for 252 yards and a touchdown as well. So this guy is an all-around running back. Is he better than the ones that Cleveland currently has? I guess time will tell, right? So that's where we're at with Cleveland's pick. So how you doing there, Blitz? You didn't tell me what you thought of the Lions. I can't remember even who they got. But it's up there on the ticker. Alrighty, so Browns just went off the clock at 1.10. Next up, we've got the New York Jets. New York Jets next up on the NFL lottery wheel. Let's go ahead and get the wheel ready. And let's look at the Jets' needs. So what do the Jets need in this draft? Alrighty, so the Jets are in need of offensive tackle, inside offensive line, an edge rusher, and a wide receiver. Probably about the only thing they feel that they're real good at is safety. So they do not want a safety in this draft. But they don't get a choice because tonight the Mad Viking again has taken over Vegas, and they're going to get whatever the wheel tells them, because when in Vegas, it's all a gamble, right? So let's go ahead and get the wheel ready for the Jets. We're going to remove Taylor, who's now got a new home in Cleveland. And here we go. Jets are on the wheel. Woo, Jets get Henry Ruggs, the third wide receiver, Alabama. That was one of their needs. So let's get Ruggs loaded into the highlight generator. We'll get him added to the ticker as well. Henry Ruggs, the third wide receiver, Alabama. Here we go. Let's put up his player highlights. Bam, there he goes, running one in. Let's look at Ruggs' draft profile. Alrighty, so Henry Ruggs was rated third by most folks out there as the third wide receiver in the draft. Another Alabama product. 6'0", weight 190. It's this burner. 4.4 is his projected 40 time, and he was supposed to go in the first round, which of course he did tonight. 40 catches last year for 746 yards and 7 touchdowns. That's with that three-headed monster of wide receivers at Alabama. So that's very, very impressive. Ruggs is the fastest receiver of those three, I think, at Alabama. And his production was held back by the fact that they had those three wide receivers. I think he's going to be a hell of a pro. So I'm thinking that probably the team that got him is pretty pleased. Pretty pleased with the development so far. And that was the Jets, so they're giving some weapons to Sam Darnold to throw to there, because the wide receiver has really been an issue for them. So I think under this scenario, I think they were probably pretty ecstatic that they got him at 11, compared to what they could have got, you know. So next pick on the clock would be the Raiders at pick number 12. Pick number 12 is on the clock, or on the wheel for the Raiders. Raiders last year were 7-9, 6th in offensive efficiency. That's actually surprising. I thought they'd be much lower than that, but they were 32nd in defensive ranking. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that they had a lot of guys get injured, especially a lot of those young rookies that they had drafted. 28th in special teams and 22nd overall is kind of how the rankings broke down for the Raiders. Let's see what kind of needs they've got. Raiders mostly, the Raiders look like they could most use a wide receiver, so they'd like to got Ruggs there, who just went off the wheel, a linebacker or a cornerback. So what they don't think they need is an offensive tackle or a running back, because they obviously drafted Jacobs last year as a number 1, and he had a hell of a year, and that offensive line seemed to block for him. So the Raiders here, like I said, looking for a wide receiver, linebacker, or running back. Let's go ahead and move on to the Raiders pick here. We're going to remove Mr. Ruggs from the wheel, because he now has a new home. And we're going to spin this wheel for the Raiders. Round and round it goes. The 2020 NFL Draft / Lottery. And the Raiders get Jarek Willis, offensive tackle out of Alabama. So the Raiders, the wheel was not kind to them. It gave them one of the strengths out there. So they're probably going to be on the phone this evening trying to move one of these offensive tackles, which are worth their weight in gold, and see what they can get for him. in the form of like picks or something else. But that's it. The Raiders' home is Vegas, and Vegas did them wrong. The wheel did not treat them right today, but that's just how it goes. Jedrick Willis. Ultimate highlights. There he goes. Let's get him added to the wheel. Into the ticker. And there he goes. He is now official. And bring up his highlights. There he is, your first look at the latest Las Vegas Raider. Let's just review the ticker as we go here. So the Dolphins got Burrow at 1.5, right? The Chargers got CeeDee Lamb at 1.6. So those were high-ranked players that went in the top 5. Panthers end up with Kinlaw, the defensive tackle out of South Carolina. The Cardinals get Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a running back out of LSU. And the Jaguars, Jordan Love, the quarterback. Jaguars have a decision to make tonight, right? Because they got to figure if Minshew is their guy. The Browns ended up with Jonathan Taylor, something they didn't need, a running back. 111, the Jets got Henry Ruggs III out of Alabama. And at 112, the Raiders in Vegas trying their luck for the first time hit snake eyes and ended up with Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle, Alabama. That puts us at 1.13. The Colts are on the wheel. Let's go ahead and check it out and see what the Colts are looking for in this draft. First, let's go through their rankings real quick. 7-9 last year. Ended up netting them the 13th pick. Their offensive efficiency ranking was 18th. Defensively, they were 12th, 32nd on special teams, and 19th overall. So kind of middle of the road, bottom half of the league. So they probably have a lot of needs, right? So let's check it out. Their needs, the Colts' needs are wide receiver, quarterback, inside defensive lineman. What they don't need is a running back. Okay, so they're hoping that wheel does not land up on a running back for them. Let's go ahead and bring up the wheel and make their pick for them this evening. We're going to remove Jedrick Wills, who now has a new home with the Raiders. And here we go. The spin for the Colts. Spin for the Colts is up. They are at 1.13. Boom. There goes the wheel. Wheel going round and round. Some good players still left on the board. The Colts get C.J. Henderson, a quarterback out of Florida. Cornerback was not one of their needs. It was kind of their third tier need. So the Colts are probably not too happy with this pick. But you know what? It's Vegas, and you get what you get. So let's put old Mr. Henderson in the highlight wheel. The highlight generator. Bring him up there. There he goes. He's up on the wheel. And let's add him to the ticker. Wow, my keyboard isn't exactly cooperating. And there he goes. It's official. Back to the system here. Bring up latest draftee. There he goes. The first look at the newest Colt. See what they had to say about this fella. What was his position again? Cornerback, right? C.J. Henderson. So Henderson was ranked just behind Jeff Okudah, who is the most sought-after cornerback in this draft. But Henderson comes in at 6'1", 186, projected to run a 4.4940. They thought he'd go in either the first or the second round. 11 passes broken up and 33 tackles last year. Some team sources say Henderson reminds them of Marcus Peters, so they think this guy is a playmaker, that he's got excellent coverage skills, and that he is NFL ready. There he goes. He is now a member of the Colts. Okay, I see what's going on here. If you find yourself in the chat, please step in, say hello. All we're doing is a little mock draft type scenario here, where instead of picking for need, we're just doing a random spin of the wheel to see who these teams get. And then at the end of it, we'll figure out if these folks that predicted the drafts, if they did better than a random wheel. So we are currently moving on. C.J. Henderson just went to the Colts at 1.13, and now we're at 1.14. Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the wheel. Let's go ahead and get the wheel ready for them. Let's check out what Tampa Bay is looking for in this draft. Tampa Bay, 7-9 last year, 20th in offensive ranking, 8th in defense, and 31st on special teams, with an overall ranking of 15. So they were right there, middle of the road. Their biggest issue seems to be Jameis Winston throwing his interceptions, right? So let's see what everybody thinks that the Buccaneers are looking for in this draft. Saying they're looking for an inside defensive lineman, a quarterback, an offensive tackle. What they don't need is a wide receiver, because they've got some excellent ones there in Tampa Bay. So let's go ahead and get the wheel ready here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers at 1.14. We'll remove Mr. Henderson from the wheel. And here we go. Here goes the spin for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 1.14. The lottery wheel's spinning. And the Buccaneers get Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle, Georgia. One of their needs. 21st ranked player on the board. And they get him at 1.14. So not crazy upset, probably. It could have been much worse, but that's who they're going to get. So let's put Mr. Thomas into the highlight generator. And get it to do its magic. Way it goes, and now we'll add him to the ticker. Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle, Georgia. That is official. There we go. Bring up his highlights. Away he goes. And we're going to go in here and read his draft profile, right? So, offensive tackle. All right, so he was the one ranked offensive tackle on the board. 6'5", 320, big fella. Runs a 5'10", 40. That's speedy for a big guy. Top 10 pick is where he was projected to go. He went real close to that in our scenario. He's a reliable pass protector and a good contributor in the ground game. So he's an all-around good offensive lineman from the sounds of it. So I think they're probably pretty happy that they got him where they did, because he was one of their major needs, right? So next up on the wheel, we're going to keep this thing rolling. Get the wheel ready for the next pick. And next up on the clock, we've got next up on the clock at 1.15, we've got the Denver Broncos currently on the clock. Denver Broncos on the clock. Let's look at what Denver's looking for in this draft. All right, Denver Broncos 7-9 last year. 23rd offensive ranking, 16th defensively, 5th on special teams with an overall ranking of 18th. So kind of pushing their way into that top half of the rankings there, right? What do the Denver Broncos need on their squad? They need a wide receiver, offensive tackle, cornerback, and a linebacker. Let's see how this wheel is lining up for the Denver Broncos at 1.15. We're going to remove Andrew Thomas from the wheel because he now has a new home. Let's just look at the wheel for a second here and see who's still out there. Kind of the highest ranking folks. The glaring player left out on the wheel for some team that's just anxious to get a top tier guy in this draft. Chase Young, the #1 ranked player overall, remains on the wheel and for the pickings. So some team is hoping to roll 7 in Vegas here and get that. We've got Derek Brown is still on the wheel, the 2nd ranked player. Good quarterback still out there in Tua. Yeah, so the wheel's kind of all around here, but Chase Young is obviously the diamond that's sitting out there for some team. Will it be the Broncos that get him? But so here we go. The Broncos spin going right now. 1.15 Denver Broncos, and away goes the wheel. And the Broncos get K'Lavon Chaisson, an edge rusher out of LSU. So it wasn't an area of need for them at all. Kind of an ancillary choice for them. They didn't need an edge rusher, but now they've got K'Lavon Chaisson. So they're one of those teams too that as the first night ends, they'd probably be calling around and trying to figure out if they want to keep the young guy, if they want to keep one of their established edge rushers. But it would be madness, that's for sure. So let's go ahead and add K'Lavon Chaisson to the highlight generator here and get some tape on him. I know some big Denver Broncos fans. I'm curious what they would have thought if this occurred. All right, let's get this tape rolling. And we'll add Mr. Chaisson to the Broncos. Edge LSU, there we go. Let's bring up these highlights for folks to see. Denver Bronco fans, here's your newest defensive player. Away he goes. Edge rusher, looks like a beast. Man, LSU and Alabama, like their entire team seem like they're going to get drafted this year. Alrighty, so we're now at the halfway point of the draft here. I'll go ahead and stop this highlight generator for just a moment. Next up on the clock is going to be at 1.16. We've got the Falcons are next up on the clock, okay? So go ahead and get the wheel ready. Remove Mr. Chase on from the wheel. And let's go ahead and look at needs for the next team here on the draft. So turn that off, get the wheel back up there. Next up on the clock, 1.16 is the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons next up on the wheel. Atlanta last year was 7-9. Tough year. They won a lot at the end, like they seem to always do. But tough year for them. 12th in offensive ranking, 24th in defensive efficiency, and 29th on special teams. Overall ranking of 20. So kind of a team that could still get back up there, you know, to contend, get in the playoffs, but had a tough year last year. What kind of needs do these Broncos have? There we go. Actually, not the Broncos, the Falcons. Excuse me. The Falcons are next up here at 1.16. The Falcons are looking for an edge rusher, a cornerback, and an inside defensive lineman. Secondary needs running back, offensive tackle, linebacker. And what they don't need is a wide receiver, because you obviously got Julio Jones in town, and they also got some young folks too. So under this scenario, the Falcons are probably angry at the Mad Viking, and they don't want a wide receiver. So they're going to be pissed if they get one. But here we go. Falcons are on the wheel. Here we go. There's the spin. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows, and they get a wide receiver. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU to the Atlanta Falcons. So this would be another team that during the evening, they'd probably be trying to move somebody out of town because now they've got too many of one position. But it would make for an interesting day too, that's for sure. Let's go ahead and load Justin Jefferson into the highlight generator. And add him to the ticker. Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, LSU Tigers. Alrighty, and it is official. Bring up the newest Atlanta Falcon. And there he goes, streaking down the field. Gil, the Vikings are going to pick it around 20, I think. 2021, somewhere in that ballpark. I'd sure like Chase Young to go ahead and keep dropping. That would be pretty cool. Burrow went already at 5, so he was really who I wanted. But 1 in 32 shot, man. That's what it was. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and look at the player profile for young Mr. Jefferson here out of LSU. He was one of my favorite wideouts in this draft. All right, Jefferson was the 7th ranked wide receiver on WalterFootball.com. 6'3", weight 192, projected 40 time at 4.5. They figured he'd go in the first or second round. 111 catches for 1,540 yards and 18 touchdowns at LSU. So he is a beast, a high producer for Joe Burrow last year for LSU and a member of that national championship team. So he ends up going to a team that didn't necessarily need him, but maybe after they realize this guy's in-house, maybe they do something else. But you never know. It's the NFL. And money does talk. So, I mean, if they're up against the cap, maybe they keep the young guy and get him on a rookie deal for 4 years or so. And so you don't have any idea what would happen after a scenario like this occurred. Alrighty. Let's go ahead and figure out who is next on the clock. So just recapping a little bit, 1.15, Kevon Chasen, edge rusher, went to LSU. 116. Guess we're up to, my ticker's got a little issue there for some reason, so let's see if we can fix that. All right, so next up on the clock here, so Justin Jefferson just went to the Falcons at 1.16. Next up on the wheel are the Dallas Cowboys. Go ahead and get this wheel ready for the Cowboys. Checking out the ticker at the top of the screen there because it looked like it had an issue. I'm trying to edit this as we go along, obviously, so about 4 things going on at once, right? So I think if the cursor is left inactive, it stops everything after it from being shown up on the ticker there. So I have to figure that out so it's not confusing folks later on in playback. Just to recap a little bit, 1.11, the Jets got Henry Ruggs III, the wide receiver out of Alabama. 1.12, the Raiders got Jedrick Wills, offensive tackle out of Alabama. 1.13, the Colts got C.J. Henderson, cornerback out of Florida. Bucks followed that up. The Buccaneers followed that up with Andrew Thomas, the highly ranked offensive tackle out of Georgia. And 115, the Broncos got Kayvon Chasen, the edge rusher out of LSU. All right, so that does cause an issue by leaving the ticker there. So let's go ahead and go back. And the Cowboys are up at 1.17. I want to go and make sure this thing works. Bear with me. Bear with me, bear with me. Of course, we're at the beginning of the ticker here, so it'll take a little while for it to come around. While we're waiting, we'll talk about these Cowboys who are up at 1.17. They were 8-8 last year. Offensive efficiency of 3rd, not bad at all, obviously. 18th on defense, 30th on special teams, and 8th on an overall ranking. Now, the Cowboys do have some issues as far as, they've got a lot of folks to sign. So you've still got Prescott, who hasn't been signed by them, and you still have Amari Cooper, who they gave up a ton to get, who they still haven't signed. So they're trying to figure out how to move them dollars around. So under this scenario, who they get would probably be pretty important if they were to end up with something they didn't need. All right, so we're getting through here. I didn't know if I would get any viewers for this stream, but like I said, I probably could have done this offline, but I don't know how to do the video editing stuff. So I decided to just do a stream, and then I can post it, and we're good to go. And then I can do like a reaction video in the next few days or something. There's some kind of an issue with the ticker. Alrighty, so let's move on to who's next. The Dallas Cowboys, as we mentioned, are on the wheel. All right, so we're going to remove Justin Jefferson from the wheel. We'll leave that sitting right there. And I'm going to do this for now because we're halfway through the round. So I'm going to take a quick little break here. I'll just leave everything up. And I will be right back after a short break, okay? So hang tight. I'll be back. Thank you. All right, folks, we are back. We are back for the second half of this draft. I had to get me a little snack. Figure out where we're at here. The wheels back up. All righty, Cowboys are on the clock. 1.17 is the pick. Let's see what their team needs are real quick. Cowboys are in desperate need of a cornerback, a safety, or an inside defensive lineman. They're good at quarterback, linebacker, and running back because they're thinking they're going to pay old Dak Prescott. So let's go ahead and spin the wheel, see who the Cowboys get at 1.17. Wheel goes around and round. And they get T. Higgins, wide receiver out of Clemson. What does this mean for Amari Cooper? They got Amari Cooper, who's wanting big money, who they gave up a ton of draft capital for. And they end up getting T. Higgins, the wide receiver out of Clemson. So they've got some decisions to make tonight. Let's load Mr. Higgins into the highlight generator. Up he comes. Go ahead and start that video and add him to the ticker for the Cowboys. And it's official. Clemson. T. Higgins, wide receiver. Go back to our OBS system here and put up the tape on Mr. Higgins. And there he is. First look at the latest Dallas Cowboy in this fictitious 2020 NFL Draft Lottery. So let's see what they had to say about Mr. Higgins. So Higgins was the 6th rated wide receiver, according to WalterFootball.com. He's 6'4" with a weight of 200, projected 40 time of 4.55, and he was projected to go in either the first or the second round. 59 catches last year for 1,167 yards, 13 touchdowns. Tall, long receiver who's a red zone weapon and provides a size mismatch in the NFL. Dangerous red zone threat given his length and leaping ability. So he's one of them tall, lanky receivers, and he's got burner speed. So thinking the old Cowboys have a decision to make at that point, right? So next up on the clock, see who we've got here. Bring back up the lottery wheel. Next up on the clock, we've got the Miami Dolphins with their second spin of the wheel here in the first round at 1.18. Who did the Dolphins get earlier in the draft there? Dolphins got Burrow with their first pick, right? So they're pretty happy already. They're curious what the wheel's going to bring them the second time around. Let's look at the Dolphins and see their rankings again. So 24th offensively, 30th defensively, 22nd special teams, and 30th overall. So one of the worst teams in the league. They've already got a brand new quarterback tonight in Joe Burrow. Let's see what else they're hoping to get. So they got their quarterback. They still need an edge rusher, offensive tackle, inside offensive lineman, and a running back. What they don't need is an inside defensive lineman. Okay? So let's go ahead and clear the wheel for the Dolphins. Get this thing going. The Dolphins' second spin of the wheel tonight. They've already got Joe Burrow in-house. Let's spin the wheel and see what they get now. Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle out of Louisville. So another need of theirs filled. Becton was the 5th-ranked player on the wheel. So the Dolphins are just killing it in this scenario. Go ahead and load Becton into the highlight generator. Yeah, the Dolphins fans are under this scenario. They're running around Vegas tonight, and they're pretty happy with their first 2 selections. So they've addressed 2 areas of need and they now have 2 of the top 5 rated players that were on the wheel. Go ahead and put him up there, and then we'll add him to the ticker. Here we go. So MEKHIVECTONOT out of Louisville. And it's official. Go ahead and back in OBS here. Bring up some tape on this player. Let the Dolphins fans see him. We're going to go to his player spotlight here on walterfootball.com. All right, so he was the 2nd-ranked offensive tackle on the board, 6'7", 369. Just a huge human being, 5'6" in the 40. Top 16 pick was his projection. Walter Football just says that he's just a huge man, similar to Cordy Glenn. Like I said, 6'7", 330, just huge dude, ground grader to open up the running game. So the Dolphins probably pretty happy right about now. 2 of the top 5 players that were on the wheel are now wearing the teal and orange. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get this wheel ready for the next pick. Who is up next? All right, so now we've got the Raiders up at 1.19. The Raiders' 2nd pick on the wheel. They didn't have a good spin that first time, but let's see if we can improve it. This is the pick that the Raiders received from the Chicago Bears in the Khalil Mack trade. Again, the rankings for the Raiders: 6th on offense, 32nd on defense, 28th on special teams, and 22nd overall. Team needs for these Raiders who are in their new home in Las Vegas at the start of the year. That's going to bring some excitement. But the Raiders still are in need of a wide receiver, a linebacker, and a cornerback. So let's see what the wheel does for these Los Angeles Raiders. We'll remove Mekhi Becton, who just got drafted by the Dolphins. Actually, he got assigned by the Dolphins to the Dolphins. We'll remove him from the wheel. And here's the Raiders spin at 1.19. And around the draft wheel goes. Again, wide receiver, linebacker, or cornerback is what they're hoping for. And they get a safety out of LSU. Safety was another need of theirs, kind of a secondary need, but they get a good one. The 29th ranked player on the board, Grant Delpit out of LSU, a safety. So let's add him in to the highlight reel. Highlight generator. Get that thing going. And then we'll add him to the ticker. It's official. It's official, boys and girls. Grant Delpit is now a Oakland Flash. Las Vegas Raider. We'll bring up some highlights for folks to see at home. And there he is, the newest Las Vegas Raider. One of my favorite defensive players in this draft. Should work out good for the Raiders should they get him like this. A Jim Thorpe Award winner, so he's just an unbelievable defensive talent. Next up on the clock after this Raider pick is the Jacksonville Jaguars at 1.20. The Jaguars get this pick from the LA Rams in that Jalen Ramsey trade. Let's see what the Jaguars look like. 26th in offensive ranking, 26th in defensive ranking, 6th on special teams, and 28th overall. So they're going to have a lot of needs on their roster. Go ahead and get this wheel ready for this next pick. And we'll remove Mr. Delpit from the wheel because he has a new home with the Los Angeles Raiders. And the Jaguars are currently on the wheel. So let's see, what do the Jaguars need? What are they looking for to improve their roster? Jaguars in need of a linebacker, a cornerback, a safety, and an inside defensive line. So they're really needing help on the defensive side of the ball. So let's go ahead and get everything ready here. And here goes the spin for the Jaguars at 1.20. Let's spin that wheel. Chase Young still sitting out there. And the Jaguars end up with Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver out of ASU. Not one of their needs. It was a secondary need for the Jaguars, but it wasn't one of their major needs. But they get the 20 ranked player off the wheel at number 20. Pretty trippy. So let's load Brandon Ayuk into the highlight generator. Get that tape rolling. And then we'll add him to the ticker here as well. That's really trippy. He was the 20th ranked player and he went off the board 20th on a random spin. One of those hated ASU Sun Devils. And it's official now. He is on his way. And bring up some tape while we talk about him. Oops. And let's see what Walter Football had to say about him in his draft profile. Bring up the wide receivers. Alrighty, they got him height 5'11", weight 201, arm length 33.13 with a hand size of 10. His projected 40 time is 4.50. He's been moving up as we approach the draft on his rankings. 65 passes caught for 1,192 yards and 8 touchdowns. So it was quite the senior year for him at Arizona State. So, like I said, it wasn't a need for them at that pick, but they get a good player, and the 20th ranked player happens to be on our draft wheel today. Gil Soto checking in. Yeah, the Jags need a whole defense. That is correct. That is correct. Let's go ahead and get this wheel ready for the next pick. Who do we have next up on the wheel? At 1.21, you've got the Philadelphia Eagles that are next up on the wheel. Let's take a look at the the Philadelphia Eagles. 9-7 record last year. They were ranked 11th on offense, 19th on defense, 26th on special teams, and 14th overall. So I'm sure they've got some needs. Excuse me. Biggest needs for the Eagles are cornerback, linebacker, and wide receiver. What they say they don't need is an offensive tackle and a tight end. But this is the wheel, so they're going to get what they get, right? So let's go ahead and get everything ready for this spin. We'll remove the ASU wide receiver from the wheel. Let's take a quick look at what's out there on the wheel, right? So we're at pick 20 here, so 12 picks from the end of the first round. And you've got 4 players in the top 10 still on the wheel. Chase Young is still out there for a lucky team. Derek Brown, a road grader, just out there for the pickings. Cornerback Jeff Okudah still out there. And Tua Tagliavola still out there on the wheel. Justin Aber, another quarterback. Kenneth Murray, linebacker. So there's some good folks still out there for these teams that are going to get the spins late here. So I'm really excited about where this deal's headed for the Vikings, who are coming up, I think, in just a pick or so. So let's go ahead and do this spin for the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, they're looking for cornerback, linebacker, or wide receiver. So they'd probably like to get old Kenneth Murray or somebody like that, right? So here goes the spin. Philadelphia Eagles are on the wheel. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. The Eagles get Tristan Wirfs, offensive guard, Iowa. So that wasn't a need for them at all. So the Eagles fans are pissed, and they can get angry. And so they're probably tearing up Vegas as we speak. But that's who they're getting, because on the wheel, you get who you get. That's how this deal works. So let's load Mr. Wirfs into the highlight generator. Get some tape up on him right quick. And get it rolling. And then we're going to add him to the ticker. 1.21 Eagles. And they get TRISTANWIRFSOG. Not an original gangster. He's an offensive guard out of Iowa. Alrighty, so that makes it official. Let's go back into here. Boom. Put up some tape on this young fella before we show everybody his draft profile. All right, so there he is. Offensive guard. Boom. I hate when you go to a website and when the page is trying to load and you're trying to go down and get information, it starts moving up on you. It's just moving all around. It's like trying to catch a cat. He was a guard, right? Yep. I'm not even finding him here. The highlights will run out by the time I find this dude. There he is. Tristan Wirfs, offensive tackle, Iowa, 6'5", 322, projected 40 time of 5.32, so he ain't exactly a burner. But he's projected to go in the top 20. And for us, he went at 21 to the Eagles. He blocks well, but he has some areas that need improvement. He struggled against Michigan. He's got a ton of physical talent, however, and upside. Some team sources think he'd be a dominant guard at the NFL level. So that's who we've got for the Eagles at 1.21. 1.21, the Eagles end up with Tristan Wirfs. So here we are. We're finally at pick number 22 in the draft, the Buffalo Bills. Go ahead and get everything ready for them to take their spin. And turn off those highlights there. Alrighty, get the wheel ready, remove. Now let's see what the Bills need here. The Bills, they're looking for playmakers to put around their young quarterback. 21st in offense, 5th in defense, 3rd in special teams, and 10th overall. So the upper third of the league. See what they're saying they need. Having a hard time finding them here. There they are. Okay, so what the Bills are looking for is an edge rusher, a wide receiver, and a cornerback. So you know you've got Chase Young still sitting out there. Most of the wideouts have left the board, right? Yeah, most of the wideouts are gone. So the ideal spin for these folks would be to get Mr. Young, Chase Young. So we're going to go ahead and spin the wheel for the Buffalo Bills and see what they get. Here we go. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. But you get what you get. Boom. The Bills get A.J. Espenza, edge, Iowa. Was that one of their needs? It was their first need. So they get the 23rd ranked player at the 22nd pick. How weird is that? Let's go ahead and load Mr. Espenza into the highlight generator. Been pretty wild here in the middle. These picks are landing right where their rankings said they would. So there's Mr. Espenza. Highlights were rocking. Go ahead and get him going, and we'll add him to the ticker for the Bills at 1.21. A-J-E-P-E-N-E-S-A. Edge. Iowa. There we go. It is official. Once it's entered into the ticker, it's official. Right. Let's go ahead and get his highlights rolling, and we'll look at his draft profile as well. Bring this up. Highlights up there on the screen. Advertising, so let's get that out of there. Away we go. Let's look at his draft profile. Edge rusher. Alrighty, so I'm chasing the screen around, as I mentioned, because there's pictures loading and it makes everything bounce up and down. But A.J. Espenza, 3-4 defensive end out of Iowa. 6'5", 277, huge man, 4.80, so some speed for a big man. 49 tackles with 11.5 sacks last year, 3 passes batted, and 4 forced fumbles. Says he's worthy of being selected in the back half of the first round, which is where the wheel picked him. Some teams have him in the second round. Looks like he can play in the 4-3, but they think he'd do well in the 3-4 as well. So maybe not a bad pick for them folks. Alrighty, let's go ahead and get ready for the next pick here. Turn off Mr. Espenza's highlights and get the wheel ready. Who is next up? 1.23, we have the New England Patriots on the wheel here at the NFL Draft Lottery, right? So let's go ahead and remove Espenza from the wheel since he has a new home. Let's see what they say about these New England Patriots. 12-4 record last year. Lots of questions surrounding the team as far as their quarterback, Tom Brady. Will he come back? Will he go play somewhere else? Will he be an Oakland Raider here in Vegas? But their offensive efficiency ranking was 17th, first in defensive rating, 9th in special teams, and an overall ranking of 4th overall. What kind of needs do these Patriots have? Patriots need an edge rusher. They're just that lucky-ass team that'll end up with Chase Young because he's still on the wheel. Or an offensive tackle or a tight end are their biggest needs. What it says they don't need is a running back. I'm not sure I get that, but that's what it says. So let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the wheel here. Edge, offensive tackle. So like the ideal spin for them would be Chase Young. So I hate the Patriots, so that's probably exactly what's about to happen. Let's get that wheel going. Around and round it goes. Pick 1.23 for the Patriots. And they get something they said they didn't need, a running back. So they get J.K. Dobbins, the running back out of Ohio State. Let's go ahead and load Mr. Dobbins, the newest Patriot, into the highlight generator. That didn't work. Keyboard is being ornery. J.K. Dobbins highlights. Get him rolling. We're going to go ahead and add him to the ticker. Ohio State. That makes it official. All right, we'll head back to OBS here. Throw up them highlights of the newest New England Patriot. There he goes. There he goes. There he goes. So we're getting 2 away from the Minnesota Vikings pick. Right now we've got 1.24. The New Orleans Saints are on the wheel. So hard to get everything ready here. Let's see what. Well, we haven't gone over what we thought about J.K. Dobbins. So let's go ahead and bring up his player profile. Do it quick. All right, so J.K. Dobbins was ranked the number 5 running back in this year's draft. 5'10", 214, projected 40 time of 4.5. They figured he'd go in the 2nd or 3rd round, so I feel pretty good that the Patriots got him. But he's been moving up in the draft boards. He averages 6.7 yards per carry, 2,003 yards, 21 touchdowns with 23 receptions for 247 and 2 touchdowns. So he can do it all. I think he'll be a hell of a pro. I don't agree with the 2nd or 3rd round grade on him, but they're undervaluing running backs in the NFL now. But he is the newest New England Patriot in our scenario. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get this wheel ready for the next pick here. The New Orleans Saints. Not exactly my favorite team in the NFL. But let's see what the Saints are looking like here. The Saints, offensive efficiency, they ranked 4th last year, 11th on defense, and 2nd on special teams for an overall ranking of 5th. Okay? What kind of needs do the Saints have? Saints are in need of interior offensive line, a wide receiver, or a linebacker. So those are their 3 areas of need. What they say they don't need is an offensive tackle or a running back. So I hope they get one of those 2. Anyway, so Here we go. The wheel is about to spin for the New Orleans Saints at 1.24. Chase Young still on the wheel. All right, the Saints end up with Jeff Okada, cornerback, Ohio State. Was that one of their needs? Cornerback was kind of their secondary need, but he was the 4th-ranked player on the board, so they have to be thrilled to get him here at number 24. So the Saints have to be just thrilled to get him. Let's load him into the highlight generator. Drop his name in there. Get it going. And then we'll add him to the ticker. Alrighty. It looked like I got an issue here on the pick order. Let's see what's going on here. Got the Saints, Vikings at 25. We got an error here, so let's fix this real quick while I'm in this screen here. I got the Titans sitting here at 125, and that's supposed to be the Viking. Let's fix this as we go along. We got Dolphins at 26, right? Seahawks at 27. Ravens at 28. Titans at 29. Let me fix this. It's going to look really bad at the end. 26, 28 Ravens, 29 Tennessee Titans. So let's be 1.29 Titans, 1.30 to the Packers, 1.31 to the 49ers, 1.32 to the Chiefs. Okay, so we got that looking correct now. Glad I caught that, or that could have thrown this thing into a whole new deal. Let's go in here and get do up his player highlight video. A little late to the game there. Dua is the newest New Orleans Saint, and like I said, they would have to be absolutely thrilled to get the 4th-ranked player on the board, even if it wasn't a high area of need on that roster here. So here we are. Let's see what they say about Mr. Dua on the player ranking deal here. Even though I'm excited and I like to get to the Vikings pick next here, but cornerback for the Saints, number one ranked cornerback on the board, 6'1", 200 pounds, 4.52 speed, projected top 16 pick, phenomenal in coverage. He doesn't allow these receivers to get separation, size, speed, athleticism, and instincts. Vastly improved. 35 tackles with 9 passes broken up and 3 interceptions on the year. Just an absolute stud defender. Alrighty, it's that time, boys and girls. The Minnesota Vikings are on the wheel. And boy, do they have somebody out there that they could use. So let's go ahead and turn off these highlights. Get the wheel ready for the Vikings pick here. Let's check into the what and who on the Vikings. So the Vikings finished 10-6 last year. They need to figure out a cornerback. So one just went just before their spin. They've got Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander both up for free agent contracts. And they draft a lot of cornerbacks. So this would be pretty interesting because they don't get to draft what they want here. But they were 5th in offense, 10th in defense, 25th on special teams, and 7th overall with that record of 10-6. Let's see what their needs are. Needs: cornerback, inside offensive line, inside defensive line. Boring. We want Chase Young. Let's not lie, but let's get the wheel ready. Currently sitting out there. So we said the Vikings need a cornerback, an inside offensive lineman, defense. We still got Tua out there, which would send Viking Nation into a tizzy. We've still got Justin Hebert out there. Kenneth Murray. Chase Young is still out there. There's nothing left to do, boys and girls, but spin this wheel. Skull Vikings. And around the wheel goes. Let's see who we get. Come on, Chase Young. He's too far. It's going to be Tua. And the Vikings get Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback out of Alabama. Viking Nation would be screaming in the streets of Las Vegas, excited about this player. Left-handed gunslinger, quarterback out of Alabama. Let's go ahead and put Tua in the highlight generator. Oops. Unbelievable. This is a scenario that would absolutely turn Viking Nation on its head. So let's go ahead and make him a Minnesota Viking. All right, and bring it up. Everything's ready to go. Let's put the highlights of the newest Minnesota Viking up. The Viking Nation would literally be in an uproar right now, excited about this pick. All of it's going to depend on health for this guy. I mean, if his hip is for real, if it's fine, if he's not badly injured, you know, where he's going to be able to continue his play, this would be a unbelievably exciting pick. 6'1", 218, quarterback out of Alabama, 4'7", projected 40 time. They thought he would go in the top 10 even with the hip injury. So there is some injury stuff with this guy. 71% completion percentage, though. That's crazy. 2,840 yards, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 2 rushing touchdowns as well. So absolute unbelievable, exciting player. And the Vikings would be thrilled to have him. Let me tell you. All right, so let's continue on with this whole deal. We'll go ahead and block out the player highlights there and see who's next up here. Remove Tua from the wheel. Next up, at 1.26, a team that really, a lot of things I've seen said that they really wanted to move up for Tua into like the top 5. And he just went just before them on the wheel. That's how things go in Vegas. Rest when you think you're about to win something, you lose your ass. So that's what happened to the Dolphins. But this is their 3rd pick. And remember, that they got Burrow, if I'm not mistaken. So they're happy either way. They've had a beautiful spin of the wheel here in Vegas today. So here's their third spin. So let's go ahead and see what their team needs are still. Let me see. Because I think they filled 2 of them with the first 2 picks. They got like 2 guys in the top 5. So they got their quarterback, they got their offensive tackle, and Chase Young is sitting out there on the wheel. So how crazy would this be if the Dolphins get Young here on this spin? Let's find out. There goes the wheel. Miami Dolphins on this wheel at 1.26. There goes Young. And they get Derek Brown, the defensive tackle out of Auburn. So they didn't really need a defensive tackle, but holy crap, they get the 2nd-rated player. So the Dolphins, came into the night with 3 picks anyway, right? So the Mad Viking takes over the draft and says, we're going to make this a lottery. So you guys aren't even going to get to use those picks. We're going to tell you who you get. And what happens? They end up getting 3 players in the top 5 with their picks. So Dolphins Nation is running around Vegas naked, probably buying those $50 margarita, things that hold 3 gallons of margarita. They are acting crazy right now because they had an unbelievable evening. So let's go ahead and load Derek Brown into the YouTube highlight generator. Bring that up. Yeah, I mean, we haven't had anyone in here watching the stream tonight, but man, if there were some Dolphins fans, they would be going absolutely bananas right now because they had, without a doubt, the best night here on Valhalla Sports Talk. They got everything they wanted and more. So Derek Brown. Right, so it's official at that point. Let's bring up and let the Miami Dolphins see their latest player. There he is. All right, Gil's back in the chat there. Gil, yeah, I kind of agree Tua would probably sit out the first year because Cousins is on a guaranteed deal. But Cousins is up after this year, and I don't think the Vikings are going to continue on with him. But I like him as a quarterback, but man, if we got Tua, they would be calling for him almost immediately to get in there and play. It'd be very, very interesting. What do you think, Gil, about the Dolphins? How their draft went tonight? They got to be ecstatic. I think they got 3 guys in the top 5, including Burrow. So I mean, they just had an unbelievable evening. But yeah, Tua as a Viking, the Viking fan base would be nuts, absolutely nuts over this guy. And I mean, from what you're hearing at the combine, he's ready to play. They're saying that he is ready to play. Anyway, let's get this wheel ready for the next pick here. We'll remove Mr. Brown from the wheel. Who do we got up next? 1.27 is up. The Seahawks. Make sure that's right, because I did find that error just in time before the Vikings pick. The Vikings went, then the Dolphins, now the Seahawks are up. So the Seahawks with their first pick tonight, I believe, and they were 14th in offensive efficiency, 17th in defensive, 11th in special teams, and ranked 13th overall. Team needs for them Dirty Birds. Edge rusher. So there's one out there. Wide receiver and interior offensive lineman. They're saying what they don't need is a quarterback, right? So what if they got Bear, and he got right back in the same area that he went to college, right? So go ahead and Get this wheel ready, and here we go. Seattle Seahawks at 1.27 on the 2020 NFL Draft Lottery Wheel. Around and round it goes. You get who you get. Man, they just missed out on they get Murray, though. You know, they got a linebacker, which is something they didn't really need, but that's who they're going to get. The 27th ranked player on the wheel goes at number 27 to the Seahawks. I swear these two systems aren't linked up, but man, they have been close tonight. They have been close. Let's put old Mr. Murray in the highlight generator. Get him started. We'll add him to the ticker here. And it's official. Go ahead and let the Seahawks fans see their newest acquisition. Away he goes. Away he goes. Coming up to the end here of this whole deal. Coming up to the end here. So who do we got coming up next? Next on the clock, 28 is the pick. The 14-2 Baltimore Ravens. Second in offense, fourth in defense, 12th in special teams, and first overall. I have a feeling this is where I have a feeling that this is where Chase Young's going to go. The number 1 ranked player in this year's draft is still sitting on the wheel at pick 28. So, I mean, Chase Young to the Ravens, could you imagine? But what if they get Bear, right? What if the quarterback out of Oregon ends up there? I mean, they would be looking to trade, right? So we've got the first player. Chase Young is still the only player remaining in the top 10 on the wheel. And then you got a couple in the middle there. Actually, 14, 17, 19, right? And Bear at 22. So here we go. The spin for the Ravens at pick 1.28. All right, Ross Blacklock, defensive tackle, TCU. That was something they needed, wasn't it? Inside defensive line. So yeah, they needed that position. He was the 19th ranked player, and they ended up getting him late in the first. So let's go ahead and load Mr. Blacklock into the highlight generator. Get his tape going. There it goes, and we'll get him loaded into the ticker as well. There we go, it's official. And bring this up and let the Ravens fans see the newest Raven in action. We'll bring up his draft profile and talk about him a little bit. Defensive tackle, right? All right. So Ross Blacklock, defensive tackle, TCU, 6'4", 305, 5'4", 340, projected around anywhere from 1 to 3, but he's been moving up the boards. 2019, he recorded 40 tackles, 3.5 sacks, not bad for an interior lineman. He didn't play in 28, and however, because of an injury. It's kind of a guy that's moving up. The thing is, he's probably going to be a better pro than he was in college. But 4th ranked defensive tackle on the board, and the Ravens end up getting him late in the 1st round. So interesting development. Let's move on to the next pick out there. And click that off and get the wheel ready. Ross Blacklock, defensive tackle, was removed from the wheel. 4 players remaining on the wheel, and unbelievably, Chase Young remains out there for one of these teams that just participated in the AFC or NFC championship game. So the rich get richer in Vegas. Isn't that how it always works, right? So go ahead and see who's next. Next up, we got the Titans, right? Titans at 1.29, I believe. Tennessee at 1.29. They were 9-7 last year, so they got in the. They were a team that got into the playoffs, just squeaked in. But man, Derrick Henry just took them all the way to the championship game, right? The AFC championship game. So, and he's due to hit free agency. So, do we have a running back still out there? DeAndre Swift, the #1 ranked running back, still out there for the taking. Rankings for Tennessee Titans: 10th, 14th, 27th, and 12th for 12th overall ranking, right? What do they need? What they need is on the wheel still. They need an edge rusher, an interior offensive lineman, and a interior defensive lineman. But they're saying they don't need a running back. I don't know how you could say they don't need one when Henry could end up leaving, but that's what it says. So the wheel's ready, so we're ready, right? Let's go ahead and get this thing going. 4 spins left on the wheel here in Vegas. Boom. There we go. For the Tennessee Titans. Who are they going to get? Is this where Young goes off the board? Looks like it. Tennessee gets Chase Young, edge rusher, Ohio State. Their improvement just continues. That's exactly what they needed. So let's go ahead and load Mr. Young into the highlight producer. Get that video rolling and make it official here at 1.29. ... My computer would like to agree with me and let me go ahead and type this in. I would appreciate it. So Chase Young, edge. So the biggest shocker of the evening, and I'm just glad he didn't go to the Packers at the next pick. So he moves on. It's official. Let's go ahead and bring it up and show Tennessee Titans fans their newest acquisition, an absolute beast out of Ohio State. This guy is going to turn the NFL on its head. I think it would make it crazy exciting. I don't know if it's the smartest thing, but it would make the first round crazy exciting if they did it with a wheel like this. It's crazy that Young dropped. It's crazy who the Dolphins got. I mean, the Vikings got Tua, so I'm like ecstatic. It's crazy. It'll be funny to see if any of them are right too after the real thing's done. But I don't know. I've had a fun time doing it. There ain't been nobody in here except for you. But I appreciate you showing up and keeping me company. So who do we got? Oh, we're supposed to do his profile now. So let's go ahead and look in here and see what Walter Football says about Chase Young. Many people have him rated as the #1 rated player in this entire draft. 6'5", 265, runs a 4.69 40. Projected to go top 5 at the very least. And they thought the only thing that would affect his where he was picked in the first was what quarterbacks came up to move in front of him. Fast edge rusher with functional strength, repertoire of moves, the ability to take over games. He looks like a perennial double-digit sack producer in the NFL. So the Tennessee Titans in this scenario are absolutely ecstatic. And I'm ecstatic because it means the Packers aren't getting him at the next pick, right? So let's go ahead and get this wheel ready for the next pick. We'll remove Mr. Young finally from the wheel. And let's see what the Packers are thinking about in this draft. So the Packers at pick 1.30, they had a record of 13-3 last year. Offensive ranking 9th, defensive ranking 6th, 24th on special teams, and 6th overall. What do they think they need? Offensive tackle, wide receiver, and tight end. What they don't need is a quarterback, an edge rusher, or a safety. Okay? Players left on the wheel: Justin Hebert, Xavier McKinley, and DeAndre Swift. I want him to get this quarterback. I want him to get the quarterback out of Oregon just to piss Rodgers off. So let's go and spin the wheel for the Green Bay Packers at 1.30. Round and round it goes, and you get what you get, Packers. And there he is. They get Justin Herbert, the quarterback out of Oregon, even though they didn't want him. I love it. I love it. Let's go ahead and load him into the highlight generator. Still could be a good quarterback. It could not be the worst thing, but anything that speeds up the exit of Mr. Aaron Rodgers from the NFC Central is going to make me perfectly happy. Go ahead and get that tape rolling and make it official for the Packers. So, like player evaluation, I haven't been high on this quarterback at all, which means he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. But he, I don't know, he hasn't been one that for me hasn't been one that I've been like, man, I'd like to get that guy. But I was sure that that's who we were going to get in this scenario, just because they didn't like him. But so there we go. The Packers now have their new signal caller in camp. Go ahead and show you Packer fans your newest member of the Packer Nation. Tall, lanky quarterback. Let's see what Walter Football had to say about this young man. Seems kind of inconsistent to me, but what do I know? He was the third-ranked quarterback on the board. He's huge. He's 6'6", 227. Huge arm length, 33.38. 10-inch hand size. Projected 40 time is 4.72. 67% completion percentage. 3,471 yards with 32 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. Scored 4 rushing touchdowns as well. He has all the physical tools to be a good NFL starter with a powerful arm, mobility, and accuracy. So time will tell. What would the Packers do now? I mean, as this thing ended, the first night of the draft, would they try to ship Rodgers? Would Rodgers' ego make him do something stupid? Who knows? But he's the newest Green Bay Packer, and we're headed back into the wheel to see who's next. We've got the last two, the Super Bowl participants, are remaining on the wheel. So we'll go ahead and get that ready. And we'll remove Mr. Herbert from the wheel. Next up, we've got the 49ers at 1.31. So let's look at these 49ers. 49ers were 13-3 last year. They're picking at 1.31. 8th on offense, 3rd on defense, 20th defensive special teams ranking, and 3rd overall ranking, right? What do they need? What do these 49ers need? Some people are souring on Jimmy G. I think they're getting a little too premature with that whole deal, but there aren't any quarterbacks left on the wheel, so it doesn't really matter much right now. They need a cornerback, an inside offensive lineman, or a safety. I think Xavier McKinney is a cornerback, but I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and spin this wheel for the 49ers. Round and round it goes. Where it stops, nobody knows. The 49ers get DeAndre Swift, the running back out of Georgia. So the 17th ranked player on the board goes to them at 31. I didn't see running back anywhere, so they were kind of an ancillary need for the Niners. They kind of got a running back by committee deal going there, but they've now got the highest rated running back coming out of college this year. Let's go ahead and add him to the highlight generator. Get his tape rolling. Add him to the ticker. Add him to the ticker. D-A-N-D-R-E. Swift. DeAndre Swift, Georgia. Let's go ahead and let these 49er fans see their newest member of their squad. There he is. I like Swift a lot. I like him a ton. I think he was worth a first-round pick. Go ahead and go to his player profile and see what Walter Football had to say about him. All right, 5'9", 215, 4.4940. So he's a burner, scheduled to go in the first round. 6.2 yards per carry, 1,216 yards, 7 touchdowns. He also had 24 receptions for 216. Speed, vision, cutting ability, and versatility. He looks like a future 3-down back and potentially an impact player. I think absolutely an impact player, especially for these 49ers. So enjoy that selection, 49er fans. So we've got just one pick on the wheel. So you really don't need a wheel for one pick, but we'll go ahead and go through this deal for the Super Bowl champions. Let's go ahead and bring Mr. Smith down off the player highlights. Go to our wheel. Remove Mr. Swift. And looks like last pick, the Mad Viking mock draft / lottery goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Chiefs obviously are the newest Super Bowl champions. 4th on offense, 13th on defense, 9th on special teams, 4th overall. Okay, what are their needs? Cornerback, inside offensive lineman, or running back. Okay, so here we go, wheel spinning. Last selection in the Mad Viking draft, Xavier. So they're pretty happy here in old Chiefs Kingdom, right? They needed a cornerback. They get Xavier McKinney, the safety, which also was kind of a need for them as well. But the 14th ranked player goes to the Super Bowl champs at number 32. Let's go ahead and bring up his highlights. Close this thing out. as my dog walks around here sneezing up a storm. There go his highlights. Let's get him rolling. And we'll add him to the last pick here. XAVIER safety, Alabama. We are official on the ticker. Go ahead and end that. Come in here and get that player highlight rolling. The advertising wheel, advertising gone. Boom. So that's it, boys and girls. That's the end. The end of the 2020 NFL Draft lottery, right? So a lot of surprises. Chase Young dropping that low was just an absolute shocker. Gil says he's looking forward to the second round. We're not doing the second. That made me laugh, Gil. I don't know if I could do 2 rounds of this stuff. Ready, so the Mr. Irrelevant of the first round, right? McKinley goes to the Super Bowl champs. Let's go ahead and close these out. That's it. We're going to go through. So Judy went to the Lions at 3. Then you had Patrick Queen, linebacker LSU, go to the Giants at 4. Burrow to the Dolphins, and just a stellar evening for them at 1.5. The Chargers get CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver out of Oklahoma. Panthers get Javon Kinlaw, the defensive tackle out of South Carolina, at 1.7. Well, the Cardinals ended up with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a running back, right? So you're thinking about getting rid of the running back they've got. Get one in the draft. Jaguars get Jordan Love, the quarterback out of Utah State, causing some drama with Minshew there. The Browns, who didn't need a running back, roll snake eyes in Vegas and end up with Jonathan Taylor. Not a bad consolation prize, though. While the Jets get Henry Ruggs, the wide receiver out of Alabama, something they desperately need, I think. The Raiders at 112 get Jedrick Willis, the offensive tackle out of Alabama. 113, the Colts get C.J. Henderson, the cornerback out of Florida. And the Bucks at 1.14. And, oh, you weren't trying to be funny, Gil? I'm sorry, dude. I can't do it, man. Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle, Georgia, to the Bucks. Kayvon Chason, an edge rusher for LSU, goes to the Broncos at 1.15. I still got that issue with the ticker here at 16. It hangs up, so how can I fix that? I need to try to fix that for the folks that watch this in a replay. See if I can figure out what's wrong with this. Maybe there's a limit to the number of things you can put in these scrolling things. I'm trying to figure it out right now, though. Make the font small. See if that helps. T. Higgins to the Cowboys at 1.17. Mekhi Becton to the Dolphins at 1.18. The Raiders get Grant Delpit, the safety out of LSU, at 19. Brandon Ayuk, the wide receiver out of ASU, to the Jaguars at 20. So the Jaguars didn't have a great night. Didn't have a great night at all. 1.25 Vikings, Tua Tagliavoa, quarterback out of Alabama. Let's go. Let's go. So at least we got the ticker right at the end here for people to look in and see who their team got. Chase Young to 1.29 to the Titans. He comes all the way down on the wheel. And the 49ers, DeAndre Swift, running back, Georgia. So it looks like the Chiefs pick is still getting cut off. Yeah, the Giants, yeah, they needed another wide receiver, I thought. I didn't think that was too bad of a deal for them. Take this down one more to 35 or so. I thought the Redskins got a wide receiver too, Gil, at their pick, and I thought that was going to help that other rookie that they had last year that performed so well for them. So I was just sure that the Vikings were going to come up on and they were going to get the wheel was going to land on that Abear out of Oregon, because he's the one I don't like out of all of them. But so he went to the Packers, so I'm pretty happy about that. But like I said, it's almost guaranteed he'll be a Hall of Famer now, because that's all they draft at quarterback in Green Bay. Bitches. So anyway, this concludes Valhalla Sports Talk's little draft special tonight. The NFL Draft Lottery with the wheel. An idea came up with, and I thought it would be fun to do, and can't wait to see if we get some comments. If you look through and you see your team's draft, and I mean, if you're a Dolphin fan, like I said, you have to be just ecstatic. So hit us up in the comments below. Give us a like. Subscribe to the channel if you like to, if you're so inclined, and we'll be seeing you next. Where our next telecast for Valhalla Sports Talk is going to be the NASCAR race on Sunday, but we hope to do some NFL content as we approach the draft here. We'll start doing some Vikings videos and getting that stuff up. So I do. Oh, you're happy that the Giants didn't get Chase Young, Gil? All right, man. Gil, thank you so much for stopping by and watching this tonight, man. Kept me some company there. So have a good evening, and we'll see you next time and see you around. So have a good night. And with that, Valhalla Sports Talk is going to sign off tonight. And thank you for joining us. And you guys have a great evening. Good night.